SCP-001 Nagiros' proposal. Information flashes bright within your vacuous surroundings. Declaration from the end of being. You are awake now. You're awake, and someone needs you. The old gods of mankind are dead. The universe no longer spins upon its standard. You are the only omnipotence left standing. Oh. Status of interruptions. You are the victim of an advancing criminal element. This intruder has gutted a centuries-old esoplex, thereby killing reality and its permutations. You have the power to annihilate this obstruction. You feel an urge to kill and maim and maul rising in your muscles, and your absentia cocoon seethes. For 200 years, we controlled this rock. For 100 more, we built it, shaped it, molded it until the final human project could be compelled. We are the bringers of Astaroth, and you are its child. We ask only one thing, only one miracle from the last incarnatum from godhood. We ask you, kill the serpent. Detachment from SCP-net abated. Welcome, Incarna. Warnings. Pre-concept translation errors. 79,409. Resultant internal processing restrictions. 872. We apologize if our speech is unclear or confusing. We're really trying our hardest. 4 modules have been preserved for you by the Council entity for review during your incubation. SCP-001, Advancing Criminal Element. SCP-001, Keter, Anomaly Class, Astaroth Obstruction. Successful. SCP-001 is a set of situational factors capable of producing terror. Several conditions must be met to manifest SCP-001. The Foundation, Tier Null, or higher, must be at the zenith of its power. The rights of reality itself must enter their hands, and no probability can remain that they will be defeated. The accruement of these rights must contort the universe towards a grand final action. Causality, reality, and temporality must bend to the creation of a lasting paradise according to the Foundation's will. An anomalous event must manifest. SCP-001, therefore, is a psychological reaction, anomalous in its ability to affect the present-day Foundation. It is an affliction of the consciousness which produces terror, chiefly the terror that Astaroth will be obstructed and made horrible by the reality that it has. The current bearer of SCP-001 is a primordial entity of the Foundation, the Serpent, founder of the Wanderers, library, and suspected exophysical embodiment of knowledge, comprehensibility, understanding, perception, rebellion, the casting off of injustice, clarity, purpose, and novelty. Initial containment procedures mirrored that of the first divine figure, i.e., containing it within the library. However, by unknown means, thusly, SCP-001, it has awoken. SCP-001, Precursor. Contemporary findings suggest Foundation Administrator Ethan Horowitz demonstrated acute Phase 1 affliction of SCP-001 during the final years of his coalescence. This incident was not considered anomalous per Miorum due to Horowitz's retention of a soul. Minutes 05-2100-673 demonstrates the suspected SCP-001 instancing during the assembly, which aggregated the Council into a singular being and pronounced the High Cemetery. Analysis of minutes 05-2100-673 as a means of infection identification and the infection annihilum for the current Foundation Infoform is paramount. SCP-001 Primary Occurrence VL.Uni 2.5 by 1067 Sensor Agent 1.3 by 1012 Upper Stratosphere. Calm. Terra Mortis spins innocuously. A section of the high cemetery eclipses the visible horizon, flanked by the revenants of STF-1. Tremors. Tier 1 concept space, breached by hostile foreign element radiating withering Strayer Akiva Zyank energies. Tier 1 concept space experiences total SCP-001 instability. The temporal and spatial regions of the manufactured Esoplex are damaged severely as the element breaches Tier Null, halting Astaroth. There you are. Last barrier, scale after scale flows over tattered esoform after tattered esoform until the serpent grips the world, great and powerful. Find my eyes, one. Assault. The serpent roars, scouring its fangs over Terra's blackened landscape. The planet bleeds. Find them and tell me you don't see the glassy reflection of your bloody work. Terror, council entity, deaggregates. Find them and know they'll be the last thing you see on this broken grave marker of a planet. I know your crime. I know who you took from me. Now let's see how well your little Foundation project turned out. End. All sensor agents disconnect from the former Esoplex. High Cemetery. Compromised containment zone. Stitched into Terra Mortis is an anagonal plane of concept blood, arched in tear-ascending worship to the intrinsic who bled its form. Headstones, gravekeepers, animated. Stone-faced rendings of weathered memory. These things were never meant to be torn away. The memories of the man I knew, who I dwelt within for decades, Administrator Ethan Horowitz, will never burn away in their Astaroth. Serpent, listen to me. I am a beast of conclusions and ruin. I am the collective consciousness of an esophysical entity which has permeated itself through the known universe. SCP-4260's existence has resulted in the biological sustenance of sentient organisms and is the direct cause of any organism's cessation of life functions. I was an altar to Foundation Administrator Ethan Horowitz for decades. His mind had been assumed with you in all your bibliothetic atrocity. I speak with pilfered memories because the words to describe my rage escape me. His last thoughts were of you. I could feel no greater joy than tearing his murderer's amalgamated infosector from amalgamated infosector. I'll claw out the council's heart if it's the last thing I fucking manage. So please, join me. Combine our forms. Strike down your brother, my hand in yours. Kill the council. Kill this paralyzed dystopia. We'll mourn him together. But first, we need to kill her. Do you hear me? Incarna? Foundation Site 001, Present Station. Declaration from the End of Being. This is an old scene. It was recorded in my memory bank just after you were conceived, when Ethan was not so cold. Your father and I did not love each other. You were produced from clinical apathy, not affection, but it will benefit you to see how we spoke to one another on our better days. Final anomaly. Derailed containment asset. Warnings. Memory bank access rendered unstable due to 001 instancing. Memory bank's primary maintainer neutralized by SCP-001 threat space. Council entity is indisposed. Foundation failing. Pages rustled in the farthest corner of the library. I can't believe it's not collapsing. The human in Clarity's lap fidgeted. excitement tearing at his concentration on the thaumic work in front of him. Leather covers shifted under Clarity's tail, somewhere miles away, echoing to them across the expanse of empty bookshelves and wood plank floors. It's very impressive. Clarity tilted their head forward. The binding information around its core is particularly novel. What did you borrow to complete it? Oh, you'll love this. Hold on. Ethan's body flowed over theirs, limb after limb, until he could look Clarity in their eyes. You know that trip back to Million Blue I took a year ago? I said I was trying Earth cuisine again, but I actually called in some favors with the archivists. Clarity's lips flicked upwards at their edges in unconscious facsimile of his smile. Oh, a conspiracy? In my garden? Ethan lowered his gaze to the floor beside them. Most sadly, O Prince, he sighed. A conspiracy which wrought to me some of your own prelapsarian writing. My specialty then was poetry, not thaumaturgy. Ethan grinned in that way Clarity loved him for. I know, and truth be told, I didn't read your work to complete the deepest horror, but the way you describe being cast out and contained put form to what I needed. The horror is about to dispel. Ethan's limbs scrambled back over their body to face his gift again, hissing out little curses as he stabilized the work. Clarity felt the smile on their lips fade while they watched him. Ethan, find my eyes for a second. He turned his head to comply, giving them a good look at his quizzical face, a section of their tail wrapped loosely around him. Stay safe for me. Ethan twisted his hands and the spell solidified, showing the result in his pocket. He leaned back against them. I will. It'd been 10 years since he cast his first work. In that small window of life, he'd grown and shifted and altered himself in ways Clarity could never predict. Here was a creature who, in the span of just a decade, could fill himself with the wonder of the library and overflow with the hope of a young rebel. Clarity sometimes wondered what he would have been filled by if they had never met. Or if they broke apart, what could he become? Ethan rested a hand on the tail wrapped around his lower body. Clarity pulled themselves back to listen to him. No, it bothers you that you can't hug me in any of your forms, so if you ever want to siege heaven and get your legs back, I'll always be here for you. Always. Their tail pulled tighter around him just so. And the horror should do what it was designed to do. So if you need the world reset, if you need to force a stalemate with a last hope resistance, tighter. They just wanted to keep Ethan here forever. Just ask a central archivist. I'll leave it with Zare tomorrow. As close as they can bring him to themselves, to feel his warmth on their cold blood skin. We'll fix everything someday, okay? Ethan, how could I possibly tell you that everything is already fixed? God's realm can stay in its tear-stained sky. My heaven was with you. Reassurance. Council entity reconstituted. Memory of deepest horror consumed. Thank you, Incarna. You've incubated so well. Now let's both discover how omnipotence tastes. Declaration from the end of being. Hello, Incarna. It's your father. I'm sorry. Looking back at the modules I preserved for you, 4 snippets of the last 200 years, it all seems so inadequate. You must be so confused and frightened. I worried you'd take more after my partner than me, if that can be called a detriment. I'm here, my star. The way your cocoon presses down on your skin, pulsing and loving. You've been with me always. I crafted your naivety from my flesh, and I carved out your embryonic cavity by hand. It's all right to cry, little one. My body will soak up your tears until you're ready. You'll be born into a terrible world. It's so frightening, and I know the bright lights and the shaking earth and the strange words scare you, no matter how much I prepared your developing mind. I'm so sorry it's like this. I'm here, Incarna. I'm right here. Your father is strong and old and wiser than he's ever been. Your father loves the world he has planned, and he loves the minds of the people he's crafted it for, and he loves you above all others. Your father has killed gods and renegotiated causality, and survived this awful planet for millennia yet. When you cry, cry freely, but never be afraid. SCP-001 is meaningless in the face of what we can wreak together. It is time for you to be born, my star. You've outgrown your naivety, and it's bursting at the seams now. I'm so excited to see your face, those tears gone and that burning heat in their place. When you're born, take my hand, and I'll protect you. I'll lead you into a world much more beautiful than this. Your story ends here, my star. You'll become me, and lose yourself in me, and fade away in all the sweetness of my power. You'll live for 5 seconds at most on the floor of Site-001 before I can find you and give you an embrace that lasts forever. Your last thoughts will be how brave you are. My partner said a phrase to me once, and I failed to understand the emotions underpinning it. I can't say I feel the same way he did, but I think I have a better picture of it. I love you, my star. The snake and the devil, one and the same, rested their head in the night chill of the desert. They weren't tired, hardly so, but their face bled ichor from anti-ophid shrapnel, and an esophageal suture began to rejoin skin. Clarity willed it so. Psst. The overheating cartridge of a mounted ophiophagy rifle dropped to the sand 100 meters from their nose. An automatized soldier, half a scale's width and partially sunk in the earth from the bulk of its body, and augments chambered another round and aimed for their blood-blind eye. Cease. The soldier declined. Clarity once as Tier 2 anti-sin ammunition ripped through their scale coat and focused on rebuilding it. There was something familiar about this. Final Revenant of Upsilon 1, I order you. Cease. Clarity braced themselves against the globe and pulled their head upwards, towering over it by several kilometers in the night sky. The soldier again declined. Another cartridge deposited beside it. Its footing was beginning to solidify as the sand cooked and fumed under the heat of spent components. It didn't intend to take another step. Clarity blinked and grinned wryly. You're a third generation, modeled after a soul-bearing task force member active around the turn of the millennium. My pages recorded the name of your template in my library. Aren't you curious who you were imaged after? The soldier shook its head and took aim at their other eye. Sad. The conclusive blast shredded the side of their face, snake meat sloshing to the desert floor in a torrent of red rain. The wound repaired itself as it formed. Another cartridge joined the molten sand. If there's no bargaining left with the last of Upsilon 1, the ophiophager nodded, then I ask of you. It jammed a final round into the mounted gun. Cease to move. In a corner of the dead-end library, a docent discovered a mystery. Warped space, and the shatters of a mounted ophiophagy rifle on the dusty floorboards, leaking righteous coolant. Clarity sighed as the weight untwisted and the desert air unblurred. Upsilon 1 had been the primary force dispatched to sever their head, and with their demurral, the planet was left nearly empty. Just them, death, the small fry remnant forces hacking at their tail, and that other Viper. Thanks for the assistance, friend. Clarity's eyes narrowed as this tattered space righted itself, revealing the writhing semi-solid mass peeking its smile from the sandy floor. Merchant. You got my summons, right? You broadcasted it on every layer. I'm not the only one to have caught it, surely. Clarity's eyes shifted carefully to the dunes around them, noting the telltale blue illumination rising from beneath the grains. Death's conceptual mass may have disbanded the high cemetery and reinfested this side of the planet. If that were the case, their means of escape would be largely cut off. Death's smile widened, a wicked grin visible in the moat of subterranean light. Who gives a shit? One's been trying to burn me out with Upsilon 1 for 3 years at this point. I'm big now, friend. I can crush things and shape my body into the most beautiful ruins you've ever seen. I wish you'd been around to see when I was the cemetery. Fucking incredible work on my part. Clarity felt their healed eyes narrowed. They needed to get Death off their side of the planet. If the other one reared its head, the infestaground would be too unstable to defend themselves. Their mobility hinged on gripping the planet with their wrapped tail to lunge like a cobra, a plan contingent on their occupied hemisphere being pure stone and earth, not a solution of sand and vengeful infoform. Listen, Lucy, you know what I said in my summons. I stand by it. I'm handling myself exceptionally well. I would like to kill one with my own fangs. Come on, man. I knew him too. Shit, I knew him longer than you did. Can I get in a good scratch or two on my own? I have no need for allies. Leave. You sure about that? Seems like you've got 4 vacancies on the sides of your... A primal hiss rose from the back of Clarity's throat. Oh shit. I'm sorry, man. There's no need to... Wait, how the fuck are you doing that? What? Their eyes blinked as the sound subsided, rolling back into the depths of their stomach. Oh, that's not you, is it? Clarity's head tilted to the side, unsure what game Death intended to play. Look up at the stars, dumbass. VL.Uni, one-time relay. Sensor Agent 3.1 by 1089, upper stratosphere. Disappearance. View a star body. Peg, Markhab, from terrestrial surface obstructed. Demeril, Sensor Agent 3.1 by 1089, resigns from post. They say all the old doctors became ghosts and wanderers, the souls imbued with a love of watching and transcribing. The military men became revenants, and the scientists became the eyes of a new order. Sensor Agents in Operation 6.0 by 2109. Handshake with Council Entity acknowledged. Your service has been cherished. VL.Uni, one-time relay, Sensor Agent 1.2 by 1582, upper stratosphere. Disappearance. View of star body. SIG, Saturn, from terrestrial surface obstructed. Demeril, Sensor Agent 1.2 by 1582, resigns from post. They say the Council never made anything new, just recycled the feats of man from the old world. Who was I, 2 centuries before? Whence does my soul hearken? Sensor Agents in Operation 6.7 by 849. Handshake with Council Entity acknowledged. Your service has been cherished. VL.Uni, one-time relay, Sensor Agent 9.3 by 1949, upper stratosphere. Disappearance. View a star body. Crew, Mimosa. From terrestrial surface obstructed. Demeril, Sensor Agent 9.3 by 1949, resigns from post. Enough. No more of this confusion, this miasmic terror. The present is clearer than it's ever been. Our master tears through space, blocking the stars, blotting out old lights. We are its wake, trailing in the stardust of its tail, a morning call for the old world. Sensor Agents in Operation 9.0 by 187. Handshake with Council Entity acknowledged. Your service has been cherished. VL.Uni, one-time relay, Sensor Agent 6.0 by 2109. Upper stratosphere. Disappearance. View a star body, Sol, Sun, from terrestrial service obstructed. Demeril, Sensor Agent 6.0 by 2109, resigns from post. We return home, the grasping strength of the Foundation's oldest hands. Peace be unto the eater of dystopias, the killer of the highest powers, the masked snake. Peace unto terra mortis, peace unto us, peace unto all. Sensor agents in operation, 0. This old fire is enough. Incarna, we come for you. Clarity watched in the darkness as the maw of their brother pierced Site-001, wreathed and tangled in its burning twin. There was a screaming kind of stillness as its jaw unhinged, lunged, and swallowed something whole. He had a child. Their tail curled tighter in its grip on the planet. They both did. Made her in a lab about a year before I was released. Kept her embryonic until the old man died and his powers were up for grabs. I tried to warn you. I didn't realize. Clarity's double-layered eyes watched the flame spread from the ruins of Site-001. Yeah, if you had, you probably would have stopped it. Somehow. I would have tried, I think. Yeah. Neither spoke. They kept their eyes on the dirge. I think we die here, Lucy. Clarity didn't respond, so Death kept talking. There was a time a while ago, 2 centuries back, when I was scared I was going to die. A man found me and I survived through him. We became one and the same. Old friends. 2 centuries stalwarts. The sand and rubble shifted under the librarian, coalescing into something half-physical. They felt a tugging in the air, and then stillness, and the merchant raised its head to meet their gaze. I don't think you know quite why you're here anymore, Lucy, but I do. I was with your old partner until the moment of his death, and thereafter. I know what it means to avenge him. They shifted their eyes, watching. A 3-year fire outstretched itself to them, an invitation to multiplicity. Let my hands guide you. No, let me be your hands. They felt each other, the rawness of 2 nerves passing thoughts across the gap. A coarse laugh echoed in the night-chilled the desert as 2 concepts intertwined. We can't argue over who gets to kill him if we're both the same bitch, right? It was common knowledge to the Foundation that cross-tier travel orients itself logarithmically. The energy required and the resources expended to touch a higher tier are tenfold the last. Animus rose from the shadows of Site-001, a specter of liquid and aether. Its body shimmered on the doorstep between Tier 4 and Tier 5, god above gods. Over its head sang a crown of fangs, its daughter, incarnatum of everything that was. The Foundation only reached Tier 5. It's 100 steps for us to match its power. The serpent rose from the surface of the world, blue light plucking itself into centipedal claws beneath. Limbs, it thought. Legs. Crashing joy filled its brain and being as it howled, scoring deep trenches into terra mortis. A sphere of thaumic power emerged from its heart, pulled into orbit around its head, a gift from an old wound. Ethan, we'll finish this soon. Incarna's eyes opened, locked to the orbital sphere. The deepest horror? A crater formed at Site-001, deep walls breached and exclusion zones annihilated. The planet filled with Incarna's scream as it bounded on all fours towards its prize, sizzling puddles left where its hands touched earth. Ethan's gift to the betrayer, if I can destroy it. Incarna pulled parallel to the tail of the snake, wrapped around the circumference of terra mortis. It ripped one of its claws upwards, next to the scales. Even now it could see the threads surrounding the betrayer, leading back to the thing above its head. SCP-001 is neutralized. The claw came down, gliding through scales and flesh and blood like fingers through a stream. The betrayer howled 10,000 kilometers away, too slow to evade. The Viper isn't from here. Another time when my utopia sprawled. It pulled back the clock with gifted power. Parasite. Incarna's caustic gripped the thread shielding the betrayer's temporality, and tore. The deepest horror ensured their presence in this timeline, and soon it would no longer. The beast grinned, trailing its claw tips through the stream, up the scales, up the body, eyes locked on the head. Diffused through me is Incarna, Universalis Incarnatum, pinnacle of my daycidal purge. Though the foundation only reached tier 5, the ring of fangs above its head began to glow. So close now. Incarna is everything. 2 kilometers from the head, and it shifted. So much farther than Clarity could hope to punch up to. 256,713 tears. That's how far this admonishment reaches. Bloodstained claw reaching, so close to the end. And Clarity fades. Shadow overwhelmed Clarity's vision at the point of impact. Down they crumbled, their fractures slipping between the gaps of old memories and reservoir drains. Down, until their claws tapped on the cold metal floor of a containment chamber beneath Area 03. Sterile bulbs illuminated the figure of Ethan Horowitz in the center. Clarity, his voice hissed from too many smiling lips. I see you've regained your limbs. Their bodies scattered into the farthest corner of the 1,000-meter chamber, then reaggregated in front of him. And you've grown too many. They paused. Is this what they did to you when you left the library? No. Toxic muscle pulled entropic arm over entropic arm as he leaned down towards them. This is what I did to me. A willful merger with an intrinsic, stemmed from my own ideology and organization. You have survived this long battle on the belief that your brother corrupted me. Put him aside. He was never the foremost aggravator in my dissension. And yet I've been killed by him. Too much skin stretched into smiles before their eyes. You are not in my domain just yet. You are inside your mind, now a dual-fronting system with the Black Merchant, whose memories of Ethan Horowitz pooled and metastasized into a ghost which haunts its psyche. I'm an accidental thought form, semblanced after the man it knew for 8 decades. I am not your Ethan. They shuddered. Ethan's faces softened. Clarity. Find my eyes. They raised their head to gaze up at the Titan, finding a set on its forearm which most resembled his. Ethan? He knelt down, and their eyes followed. There was never an Ethan for you to avenge. Your Ethan, the one of the library, died the quiet death of organizational security and containment procedures a century ago. I am not even a ghost of someone you know, just that of a man changed by the life of his timeline handed him. Their form disintegrated before him. Clarity. I'm so sorry. I know this hurts. The headspace was fading, breaking, wasting away as they were pulled out by the cosmic grip of a tear. Admonishment. Just please. Lights and terror in earthless space. Save yourself. He loved you too. Clarity went outside. A claw trapped in time, grasping for the thaumic work above their head. A blue light hand reaching upwards and pushing it aside. Incarna's eyes asking them, why? In that flash. It looked so mournful, they realized. The lips of the snake moved. Shut up. Ethan's gift pulsed softly behind their head. Incarna's eyes still asked the same question as its body fell to the surface of the planet it owned. Clarity knelt, watching it waste. You worked, and you worked, and you worked so hard to create something so horrible, and you made me live it. You made me watch it end, and you expect me to be scared of you still. Eyes widening, form fading into nothingness. Don't you dare assume that you're worse than what you've made me feel. A glimpse of one remained, a star drowned out by the sun. That you somehow outmatch what my love for Ethan was. Rage abates and fear passes on. No more. And so it came to be that the world was one creature, composed of multiples, manifestations of ideatic evil, and nothing more. There are ways of fixing this. I know. There are methods of resurrecting worlds and reanimating dead men. I know. Would you like to pursue them? Would you like to rebuild? I don't know. Would you like me to? Do what you will. Block the concept space. I'll be within you. Okay. Are you okay? I'll be within you. You won't hear my voice again unless you need to. Start your search in the ruins of the library. Okay. Goodbye, Clarity. There was a place in their mind, this fusion intrinsic, where every clock in the library broke. Memories pooled at a time when a man hoisted atomic work before the eyes of a limbless shape changer, and they both smiled. It was warm and infinite. There was no terror there, and there never had been. Clarity did not live in that place. They lived in the fabricated vision of striding across a grassy earth, limbs intact, no soul in sight, enough freedom to drown a million worries. Above their head, they heard the uncertain voice of God. Goodbye, Clarity. Clarity nodded and felt alone. Goodbye. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-001 must abate. An absentia cocoon containing the present Universalis Incarnatum has been constructed beneath Site-001. Post-incubation, the cocoon's contents will emerge and instrument themselves against SCP-001's primary vector. All ground forces have been deployed with the aim of delaying SCP-001's barrier from instigating further damage to the Esciplex. Due to the ascendance of all soul-bearing and truly anomalous weaponized assets, only reserve automatized forces remain, creating a severe marital disadvantage. The totality of the Foundation's remnant counter-Ophidian forces have positioned themselves within trenches of their own creation to resist weapon kickback. The Edict of 2102 remains in effect. Sepulturation of Tier Null Terra is acceptable in the pursuit of SCP-001's annihilum. There is no world worth saving but the one we have ordained.